The Atlanta Braves took down the Washington Nationals 3-2 for a 10-game winning streak, the longest one they've had in 3 seasons. Let's talk about it.
This is the Braves Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Atlanta Braves. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into the Braves Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, author of the Braves Today newsletter over at bravestoday.com. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. That handsome fellow over there is Jake Mastroianni, host of Locked On Braves. Follow him on social media at shortstopball. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Jake's got a ton of great content coming this week, and I heard one of his ad reads tomorrow was just really good. Guest speaker coming in for his ad read. All right, Jake, I want to talk about this 3-2 win by the Braves over the Nationals. Those of you who are here on YouTube, I'm pretty sure we all know who it is, but feel free to go ahead and drop in the chat your vote for player of the game. Again, pretty confident we all know who this is. But I think before we get into that, I want to talk about the fact that this is not only the longest winning streak of Atlanta's season, this is the longest winning streak they've had in 3 years. And I find it odd. I didn't realize until they said it on the broadcast. They didn't do this in 2023. What are the odds that 2023 is like the greatest offense we've ever seen, and their longest win streak is not as long as what they've done this year?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I think what it puts into perspective is how hard it is to win 10 games in a row. Like it really doesn't matter the competition. And I know I've talked about the fact that I'm not putting too much stock into what we're happening at the end of the season here because of who they're facing, but to win 10 games in a row against anybody in baseball, a game that, I mean, you just see wild things happen every day. What you think is going to be a given is not always the case in baseball. So, yeah, I think it just shows me it's really difficult to win 10 games in a row. I don't care who the competition is you're facing. And that makes this a little bit more impressive of a streak here. I mean, had they just gone the rest of the way and they won all of these series against these teams, I'd be like, that's what they were probably supposed to do. But the fact that they're sweeping these teams and some of these games just bull rushing them, I mean, it makes it a little bit more impressive what they're doing here down the stretch.
Yeah, 2023 longest streak was 9 games. It also puts 2022 into perspective because Atlanta, 101-win team, they had a 14-game winning streak that year. And the longest losing streak Atlanta had in 2022 was 3 games. Yeah. So, like, a little bit of context there, 2023 was the greatest offense we've ever seen, pretty much. And 22, from a streak perspective, was better in both regards. All right, the votes have come in. It's pretty obvious. We already knew who it was, but we'll just go ahead and make it official.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
Michael Harris II gets 2 home runs tonight. And, he gets one in the 5th inning off of Brad Lord. He gets one in the 7th off of Connor Pilkington. Both of these guys sound like they should work at medieval times. He's now sitting on 19 home runs on the season. And obviously, the win-loss record doesn't matter. But 19 home runs, 19 stolen bases. What would it say for Michael Harris to have the start that he had and finish with a 2020 season?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be pretty incredible. I joked about it last night because he was still in those bases, and I was like, is he going for that 2020 season? He's still 3 homers away. Well, you hit 2 in one game, and you got 5 left.
Makes it easy.
And he is floored. I've said it every year. I've said it every year since he came into the league. I said he's going to go 2020 this year. It's quite obvious, and then he's flirted with it every season, and he's never gotten it. And here he is, 1 home run, 1 stolen base away from it again, and a little bit of a surge here at the end of the season, which is good because after his hot surge that he had earlier in August, July and August, he really cooled off there for a while. So I think it'd be good for him to reach that mark. Again, it seems like it's something he's really going for here with the stolen bases the day before, then the home runs today. So I think that would be a big accomplishment for him and give him that positive boost going into the offseason. While I've said I don't think you can carry over a winning streak like this into next year, certainly for a player and individual, having that momentum going into an offseason, feeling good about themselves, I think could potentially play into the beginning of next year. So I hope that's the case for Michael. I hope he's able to get that 2020 season that's eluded him for so long now. He's 24 years old, but I mean, he's been in the big leagues for a little bit now and hasn't quite gotten there yet. But I think even more than that, just for him to be able to have that good finish and put a good, taste in his mouth about what has been mostly a pretty rough season for him.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, his first 2 seasons, he finished with 20 stolen bases, but he had 19 and 18 home runs. Like he's never quite gotten there. And if this is the season that he does it, it's going to be a little bit absurd. Obviously, he's played more games this year than he did any of those other seasons, but still going to be just kind of wild if this is the one that he does it. On some of the other notes, the 3rd home run for Atlanta, all their runs in this game come off of solo shots. Ronald Acuna Jr. gets one. That is his 20th. It's kind of funny because a month and a half after he came back, if you had told me Ronald was going to finish at 20 home runs, I'd have maybe been a little bit disappointed because it just felt like he was so hot for so long. But he had that kind of extended slump a little bit in August over into September. I'll remind everybody the month of July, he hits 221. Month of August, he hits 228. Right now, he's hitting 271 in September, really kind of picked it back up. Kind of an unspoken thing for Ronald. His slugging in the month of August was 316. Like he had Nick Allen levels of slugging for like an entire calendar month. He's obviously come out of that now, and I feel like he's there. Somebody in the comment, Moises is pointing out the Braves have a 5.5 games back of a wild card spot with like 4 left to play. So don't quite think it's going to happen there. But either way, it's to your point, it's nice to see the guys kind of hit these milestones. And Snit talked about this a couple weeks ago when talking about some of the injured pitchers and them trying to come back. And it's not so much getting back to have momentum into next season. It's getting to the point where you feel comfortable entering the offseason that you don't need to spend a bunch of time either if you're hurt trying to just get back on the field. Or if you struggled all year, but you finished the season hot, it makes you feel a little bit better about, hey, the issues I was dealing with, I can overcome them. Let me work this offseason on just cementing the changes I made that helped me come over them. Versus if you finish the year and you're slumping, you go into the offseason with a big question mark of, what do I do? How do I get over this? How do I get back into normal form? So I just think a lot of the performances at the very end of the year here for everybody have been really good. Maybe with the exception of Matt Olson. I can't remember the last time we saw him for a 2-game span not get on base at all. He didn't strike out tonight, thankfully. But another 0 for 4. He's now 0 for 10 in this series with 4 strikeouts. He's really the only guy that that's had a little bit of an issue, it feels like, so far in this series.
Yeah, which is surprising because he's been so consistent for the team all year. But yeah, I mean, as far as guys getting back and, just Chris Sale talked about it last year, how important it was, missing the postseason, coming back and at least throwing a simulated bullpen before he officially went into his offseason, and how big that can be going in an offseason, because guys talk about it all the time. When you've had a whole offseason where all you're doing is rehabbing and strengthening and trying to get that back, and then you go into the season and you're grinding all season in that, you don't get that real offseason to just kind of rest and recover, because you're having to grind just to get to a point where you're ready for the season. So you've heard so many players say it at this point that it's got to be true, and that it is better if they can just go into the offseason knowing that they really just got to rest and relax. They know where they are when they're in their good physical shape, and then just worried about getting to spring training, getting to that point to make it through a season. So it's great. I know Schwelly and Raylo and those guys, we know Grant's going to throw a session at some point that's going to kind of determine what his offseason is going to look like. But for Raylo and Schwelly and Jimenez, for them to be able to at least come back and just throw at some point a little bit, I think would be big for them going into the offseason, and for the Braves too, to kind of know what they got going into next year.
I believe Lopez said his goal was to face live batters twice in Northport, and he's down there now. Face live batters twice before he goes home for the offseason. So to your point, they want to just get to that point in the rehab before they get done. All right, when we come back, I want to talk about the pitching. Hurston Waldrep, thoughts on him, as well as the debut of Yoel Payamps and then Dylan Lee and his homer issue. We'll do that next right here on the Braves Postcast. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that actually works. There are so many products out there, and it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. And that's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. And it's not just hype. This is a supplement clinically tested that targets the root causes of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach. Whether you're at work, out with friends, or even just getting ready in the morning, Nutrafol gives you more confidence in your daily routine, and you can feel good about it, knowing Nutrafol is NSF certified and backed by peer-reviewed studies. So, see thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On MLB listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter promo code Locked On MLB. That's Nutrafol, Nutrafol.com, promo code Locked On MLB. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NFL season's here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, it's easy, it's the best way to add a little more energy to Sunday. So if you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Welcome back to the Braves Postcast. Jake Mastroianni, Lindsay, Crosby. And one of the big things that I kind of want to get your opinion on, now that we've seen him make the final start of his season, is what exactly to make of Hurston Waldrep.
This is what you'll be talking about.
So tonight, Hurston goes 6 innings, and from an ERA perspective, right, it was good. 1 run allowed on 5 hits. He does walk 4, strikes out 5, takes 90-something pitches, to get through the 6 innings. And I don't know about, I want to speak for you, but for me, it really looks like these last couple starts, you can see the fatigue. Like you can see that he's just, from a workload perspective, he's been pushed a little bit farther. Not that he should have. I'm not saying anything's wrong with it, but he had like 100 innings last year. He's around 150 and change this year. And it looks like a lot of stuff starting to drift up. He's starting to miss a lot kind of arm side, and you can just see the accumulated fatigue, meaning his stuff just isn't quite as crisp as it was earlier in the season.
I think that's certainly part of it. I mean, he's going into uncharted territory here. I think it's last year at Florida, and combined with what he did after getting drafted, it threw about 130 innings. So, he's gone beyond that at this point. So this is something different from him. We're big because the Braves are hoping next year, maybe you get 170, 175 innings from him, and you just continue to build him up because he looks like a guy that he's built that he can do that type of thing. Yeah. And so hopefully he does get to that point. But it is a long season. It has been, nobody has grown more than Hurston Waldrep in this year. Nobody's, struggled as hard as he has and then come back from it. I mean, we were talking about just completely scrapping Hurston Waldrep as a starter after the end of April, made some mechanical changes, still had to kind of fight through that, even making those changes to finally get to the point of where he is now. And then just a run that he's been on at the big league level, really only one bad start in that since coming up. I mean, it's been a crazy year for Hurston Waldrep, so it would not surprise me at all. What I kind of took away from this one is really leaning heavy on that sinker. And this was an adjustment I thought he made back a couple of starts ago against the Mariners, where they were really kind of sitting on that splitter. Anything down, they were just sitting on. And look, you can sit on that splitter, and it's still a tough pitch to hit. I mean, J-Rod got one. J-Rod got one that was kind of left up a little bit, but if you can throw that sinker down while they're looking for that splitter, you're probably either going to get a swing and a miss, or if it is a hard hit ball like we saw some tonight, it's going to be a ground ball. And you just hope that's at somebody. So I think that's been a huge development for him. He's had to make some adjustments as the league has kind of adjusted to him, and he's still been able to bounce back from that and succeed. So it gives me a lot of a lot of hope for him. He's been up here long enough, kind of like with Schwellenbach last year. I mean, he was up here for a while and he thought, okay, when is the other shoe going to drop? And he kind of went through that actually at the beginning of this year, kind of weathered that, and then was able to adjust and be that pitcher we know he can be. And I feel like we've kind of seen that a little bit with Waldrep already, that he's had to adjust back in this one. And last thing in this one too, whiffs on everything. I mean, 4 on the sinker, just 3 on the splitter, 5 on the slider, 4 on the curveball, 1 on the cutter. I mean, just showing that all the pitches that he has, can be really good.
Yeah, and the slider's the one that stood out to me as it's not a pitch that he typically leans on, right? It's something he uses a tendency breaker and things like that. But he really threw it in the zone, I feel like, a lot more than he normally does. And they fouled a couple of them off, right? 8 swings, 3 fouls, 5 whiffs, none of them put into play. And it's by broadening the repertoire, by adding in, the sinker and the cutter along with the four-seamer, which you didn't use tonight. But just having so many different pitches, you can vary which fastballs you're using. And then you can vary the 3 secondaries, a splitter, slider, curveball. He can kind of keep guys off balance. And it always feels like there's something that he has that the opposing team's not ready for. And, he got a lot of the ground balls he needed with the sinker. He really got some of the whiffs with the slider, especially when you look at the fact of they only swung 8 times and he had 5 whiffs on it and a called strike as well on those 14 U's. So just a lot of growth. And to your point, I remember Snit talking at the end of 23 about Bryce Elder's struggles in the back half. And he said, you never really know how long the season is until you go through it. And that gives you an idea of what you need to do to be ready from a physical perspective for the grind of a full major league season. And I feel like Waldrop's gotten a good enough example the back half of the year. And even in Gwinnett, he was doing a lot of regular rest stuff. He wasn't really pitching on extra rest, and he wasn't really doing short starts unless it was, to your point, early in the year and he got blasted. So I do feel really good about I still expect the Braves to add somebody in the offseason, to add a starter. That's just, it feels like every year they're trying to bring in somebody or get someone new in the rotation. But even if they're not able to, or an early injury takes somebody down, I really feel like Hurston Waldrep's at the point where he can be up and pitch all year and be fine. A guy I want to get your opinion on that I want to believe this is just workload related, but Dylan Lee gives up another home run tonight. We've seen him struggle with home runs in the back half of the schedule now. And he's sitting on 68 in a third innings. Really needs to pick up 2 more outs. But his previous career high in innings was like 59. He went from 52 games last year to 74 this year. How much of this home run problem in the second half is just, for him also, fatigue? Or is this something where do we need to be concerned about high leverage lefty in the bullpen?
It's one of the, like you said, I hope it's fatigue. I don't really have anything necessarily to prove that because he's had pretty big workloads before. It's not like Waldrep where he hasn't necessarily, seen this type of workload in the past, but it's a bit concerning. Look, James Wood's a very good young hitter. Yeah. And that was, a slider that was left middle. And you know what, if he's not as tired, does he not leave that middle? I don't know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's definitely a little bit concerning. And I do think I thought they needed to get 2 relievers in the offseason no matter what. And one of them be good if it was a lefty, because even Dylan Lee, he's good against lefties, and his numbers are pretty good against lefties and righties. They're better against lefties, but I think they need to go get another lefty reliever regardless. Mm-hmm. And I think it does just kind of, who do you have a lot of confidence in out of that bullpen outside of Iggy at the moment? And who would have thought that, in the first half of the season? Yeah. Even Pierce Johnson makes me a little nervous, maybe Tyler Kinley. But Dylan Lee, I'll be honest, I'm not as confident when he comes out. When he have that home run, I'm thinking, oh, man, here we go again. Now, he did settle down, to his credit, and shut things down the rest of the way and look like Dylan Lee. And I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be really good again next year. But the second half does give me a little bit of pause and also just increase that need to go out and get another stud reliever this offseason.
Yeah, and to the point of James Wood being a good hitter against lefties, while you were talking, I got an email from Braves Comms with like the post-game notes that they always send out. James Wood has 11 left-on-left home runs this season. He's tied with Juan Soto for third most in all of baseball, left-on-left homers. The only guys ahead of him, Shohei Ohtani has 14, and then Kyle Schwarber has 22.
Okay.
But also, what does it say for Atlanta that 3 of the top 4 guys in baseball at hitting home runs off of lefties are in their division? Like,
you better get some lefties.
You better get some really good lefties, and even then, it might not be enough because you've got Soto and Wood and Schwarber. Well, maybe Schwarber. Yeah, I'm sure he's coming back. All here. All right, so series finale tomorrow, 12:15. Season finale against the Nationals. You played them a ton. You are actually, what is this? You are 9-3 against the Nationals this year. So a win tomorrow makes you 10-3 against one team, which is just absurd. But Andrew Alvarez versus Bryce Elder. 12:15 p.m. We will be here to break down the game when it is over. So do us a favor if you're listening on audio, subscribe, add it to your podcast feed, leave a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, Perfect Podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when Jake drops tomorrow's episode, so you know when we go live to break down what is hopefully an 11-game winning streak thanks to Bryce Elder. We have a in the chat a prediction from Aaron that the Braves are going to beat the Nationals 12-3 on Wednesday. So I want to see if Doc is right. If Aaron's right on this or not. For Jake Mastroianni, I'm Lindsay Crosby. This has been the Braves Postcast.